This is Jamie Drummond once again for Good Food Revolution. We are joined for another tasting with the wonderful winemaker Gabriel Demarco from Cave Spring. How are you today, Gabriel?
Good, Jamie. Thank you again for having me. It's always such a lovely time.
Well, it's always fun to be able to consume some wine with you, albeit virtually. But it's been a while since we've done this in person. So we are going to talk about this wine here. Now, this is something I have in my glass right now. I'm absolutely fascinated by it. This is the 2019 Beamsville Bench VQA Prova. This is Shoreline 3A, and this is a Cabernet Franc. Tell us a little bit about this wine, because this is really leaping out the glass for me right now.
Well, the Prova Cab Franc, just like the Prova Riesling we've tried together, is continuing the kind of the storybook of exploration and technique. And so the Riesling was an exploration in oxidation, and the Prova Cab Franc is an exploration in tannin management. And 19 was a cool year where we ended up with very structured Cab Franc. All ripe Cab Franc, the alcohol is 14 and a half, but the tannins were quite structured and present. So I thought, how do we manage these tannins without intervention, modern intervention? And the first thing I thought of was, of course, carbonic maceration, not to make a bubblegum soft wine that we know of carbonic maceration in Beaujolais Nouveau, to soften tannin, to build that fruity structure in the middle. And so we did that. We carbonic macerated Cab Franc, and then we did the carbonic maceration. We sent it down to barrel, nothing new, and it sat there for 16 months. Now, the Cab Franc estate that we've tried previously, that is actually 25% of the Cab Franc estate is carbonic macerated. So it actually ended up in the Cab Franc estate, just like the 18 Prova was part of the CSV Riesling of 18. And so we loved it so much, though, that we kept behind 3 barrels, and we aged them another 6 months, and then we bottled them. So this is a pure expression of that carbonic macerated Cab Franc.
It brings out this kind of lifted fruit component that you don't always see in Cabernet Franc. Like it's not, I'm not going to say it's high tone, but there's just this exuberant fruit here, which is gorgeous.
Thank you so much. I mean, it was such a cool exercise. It worked in the estate. It kept the tannin that we wanted in the estate, but just gave it that approachable edge we needed.
Yeah.
And on itself, you're right, like that lifted tone, like it just. What a cool expression of Cab Franc. We were kind of in love with the process. We probably will end up doing it every year now. We loved it so much. And so I'm really glad you like it. It's like you mentioned kind of quickly off camera that you were reminded of a Cru Beaujolais.
Yeah.
Sure. I know how we had made that wine, and so I was kind of like, oh wow, that's crazy. That would be familiar. So yeah, it's to continue, as we talked about earlier in tastings, is really exploring truths of our terroir, and what does that mean in our winemaking practice, and how do we express that properly? How do we stay truthful to it? And I think that there is a place for this technique in Cabernet Franc crafting, I'll say. And so that is the vineyard map that we manage with, just like the Prova Riesling, and that is the origin of the fruit.
It's interesting. This is definitely a winning style with the Cabernet Franc for sure. I think this will have very broad appeal as well. I mean, I'm immediately drawn to this style of Cabernet Franc, but I can see this being something that goes down very well with the general public.
Yeah, I hope so. I think we'll do a kind of a side release. So we'll do a release of it, just like the Prova Riesling, that oxidative style. I think as we're tasting with people, it fits very nicely in the portfolio as a kind of a juxtaposition to kind of conventional approaches. So I think at least short term, we'll probably end up continuing the technique and having it in the lineup, just as comparative, as a conversation piece to kind of, get people thinking about, what is Cab Franc, what is Riesling in the Niagara Peninsula.
I'm always curious as to what a winemaker thinks would sit well with this at the dinner table. I could, to use a Millennials expression. I could crush this wine quite easily by itself, but that's just it's I sound like such a granddad. No, it's definitely a wine style that I enjoy greatly. But at the dinner table, where would you put this?
Oh man, I don't eat tons of meat, but I think of like a beef Wellington or something with this. It's something softer, savory, has that like the textured edge from the crisps up phyllo, so do something like as rich as that. It can almost it has the fact that the tannin structure has been softened and the fruit is so present and is still very ripe and it carries the alcohol quite well. I think it would lend itself to the extra richness and the savoriness of that dish. I actually have to admit my stepfather makes a killer beef Wellington. And so maybe I'm hoping for a little bit of that action at Christmas.
I get meat from a friend's farm, Green Being Farm, out near just past Durham, actually near Hanover, and I found this frozen object in the freezer, and I wasn't quite sure what it was. So at first I thought it was a beef heart, and then I started defrosting it, and like, oh no, it's liver. And then once it was properly defrosted, it was like, kidneys. So I soaked the kidneys overnight in milk, and then did a kind of almost like almost a deviled kidney thing, but a bit richer with a lot of butter. And I mean, when you get quality organ meat like that, it's very, very rich and beefy, and it would work perfectly with something like this.
Yeah, that's a great dish. Actually, great idea.
I think I will I may be making that again sometime soon if I can get hold of any more of these wonderful kidneys from Green Being Farm. That's another plug for Green Being Farm right there. They're friends. Love it. No, this is absolutely delightful. What kind of quantities are you making of this?
This is 75 cases. That's a 75 case allotment. Yeah, it's small. All the Provas are quite small allotments. Just they tend to make it into the highest level of wine in any category, and then whatever's left over, we kind of bottle on by itself.
Right, I see.
So it's really a fun exercise to try the Prova Cab Franc and the Estate 19 Cab Franc side by side, because again, they're from the same block, harvested on the same day, and a component of the Prova Cab Franc is in the Cab Franc estate.
Yeah.
And kind of age the Prova longer, put it to bottle. So they're kind of sister wines, only separated by technique and time.
And do you see this as being something that you will be pushing to licensees, or is this something that people will be picking up from the winery or from your own online portal?
It's online always. Everything we do is online. For sure. That's always an option for anybody. And you can do mixed cases, of course, or mixed portions and volumes. Yeah. This is a licensee, I think, play. Like we talked about it with the Riesling, really kind of hoping to evoke curiosity in the brand and the labels, just to kind of create conversation. So pushing licensee, winery, and then online, for sure, just to kind of get people to kind of rethink what they think about Cave Spring.
Yeah, these wines definitely do that. Gabe, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution, tasting through 4 great wines from Cave Spring today. And we'll be publishing these, drip feeding them to our audience over the next month or so. Thanks so much for your time today. Very much appreciated.
Jamie, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. It's great to catch up.
Take care.
Take care.